right, guys, welcome to another episode of Bias Brothers. In the house, you have Big Dave and specially invited guest Mackenson Camara David. Welcome to the Bias Brothers. First time having you on. It's amazing to have the current CFU secretary on the pod. So just give us a little insight. I'll call you. I grew up calling you Kenson, so it'll be a little different.
But
So
Kristen is
I
actually
might be.
Camara, so
Okay, well, I'll try Kamara, but naturally, but
yeah.
all right,
So
going
it's Camara
Kamara.
Mackenson. All good, all good, no complaints. Just they take it one day at a time, like everybody trying to navigate through this pandemic times. So yeah, for now all good. All
Okay,
things
okay,
with you.
okay. Everything good. Same, trying to navigate this current pandemic we find ourselves in. I mean, football in Trinidad had a bit of a standstill under the national team really, and under the national women's team currently in training. So and again, a little backstory into me being a referee.
Mm-hmm.
Kamara actually posted it on Instagram, Central Zone, looking for referees, and
Yeah.
I like, you see what I'm saying? He said, yeah, we'll go out and try out, and well, the rest is history as a referee now. So, I mean, just showing you how sometimes like one person just kind of get into that level and elevate, other people could find out, because had you not been in that position, would I have found out about refereeing?
Most
I think not.
definitely. Nice.
I
Well, I'm
mean,
happy to hear that you went on with it and you're well in it. So
yeah.
congrats on that. Hopefully, I see you up in the big stages too.
Yeah,
The funny thing is,
hopefully.
the funny thing is kind of Jomo who kind of came up with the referring too. So
Oh,
it's a big
nice.
triangle here.
Yeah,
No,
big
that's
triangle.
that's
It's
sweet.
a big triangle.
Well, it's only a matter of time for you guys to get into it because I mean we now starting the convo, but if I could touch on refereeing for a bit,
Yeah,
a lot of people see refereeing as they don't see it as something important, right? They just see referee. A lot of young kids, boys and girls, when we were in secondary school, everybody wants to be this professional footballer. Everybody wants to play in Europe in these big leagues with these big Manchester United and stuff like that. And nobody really cares or takes on, hey, I could actually be a referee and try and make something out of it. All right. We all know the statistics where probably about 1% of the entire 1% or less of the entire world professional footballers actually live the kind of lifestyle we see footballers living, that's the ballers in England and all of these places. But outside of that is a struggle, although you're doing what you getting paid for what you love to do. But outside of that, it's not the big extravagant things. But refereeing is actually a career that pays, and it gives you a lot of perks as well, in that you get to travel all over the globe. I mean, I know a couple of referees in the Caribbean from where I sit. They get into refereeing because they just wanted to contribute to the game, or they just somebody tell them get into refereeing, and listen, they've made it. They've traveled all over the CONCACAF region, Central America. They've refereed in Nations League games, and a lot of the women as well. They have actually gone on to referee in the World Cups, and there's so much World Cup. There's under 17 Girls World Cup, under 20 Girls World Cup. There's Senior World Cup. So there's always football happening, and you tend to see the referees tend to be on the latter side of the scale, where they probably, I don't know, 35 plus or probably 40 years plus, because they see it as though they can't play football anymore. But a referee for World Cup gets, I would say, about I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's about like 125K US just to referee in a World Cup. And that's something you make in a month, a World Cup tournament, and that could be an entire pay, that's the entire pay for the entire year. And you make that in a month. And professional referees in the EPL, they get a salary of about 200,000 K pounds a year, for being a professional referee. So referee pays a ton load of money, and if more people could see that and make that shift, it could do them pretty well.
Okay. I mean, locally, when you actually posted it, I mean, I saw it and I was like, I was in Shogunas at the time, so I was saying, well, it's right down the road. I might as well go and see what I could learn about the game. And already
Mm-hmm.
football was at a standstill. I went and it actually was interesting to know how much about the game I didn't know, like in terms
Yeah,
of the rules, the diameters, the pitch can be a square, all these things you take for granted, the size of the goalpost and whatnot. And it's only by attending you really kind of get a feel for it and whatnot. So I mean, it is, as I say, very interesting. But a lot of these things that when you do research, you see kids as young as 12, as young as 14, as young as 15 actually being heavily pushed into the refereeing. When you're
yeah,
in Trinidad, when you're 14, what you're talking about being a referee, you're talking about
correct.
playing the game.
Correct. It's something in the entire Caribbean, and it's one of the projects actually looking to introduce at the CFU, where we bring referees and refereeing into schools, a referees in schools program to actually push that the raise the awareness of actually becoming a referee and having a career in refereeing at a younger age. So
I agree with her.
yeah,
I 100% agree with her.
Yeah,
yeah.
it would be nice. We need
And
to have that
you get to rub
diversification.
shoulders with the best players too. So
Exactly.
True,
Yeah.
true,
imagine,
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's our
So
next year to see the game, eh? And
yeah,
it's the best seat in
Correct.
the house.
Correct.
best seat in the house. You can get a front row seat in me, and you have VR to help you. So
Yeah.
if you make
Well,
a bad decision
well,
or
we don't have
whatever,
VR at this level, but
oh,
yeah.
not as yet, but but it's one. It definitely is something that helps you, as you said, get to know the game and see the game from a different side. Two, as I said, it has many perks for it. In terms of financially and touring the world, because when you go on these trips and these tournaments, you have a day or two to actually go and explore a city and make new friends and you create a network and things like that. And three, for your overall health. I mean, the referees nowadays have to be hella fit to referee at any level,
Yeah.
so you gotta be on top of your game, making sure that probably fitter or as fit as these professional players,
To be
having to
fitter,
make
yeah.
these exactly, because you have to keep up with the game whereby a player might be jogging back from a player or whatever. You gotta sprint to the other side to keep up with the play. So yeah, it's
So
hard work.
just to give us some insight, Camara, tell us how you went from attending university to your current path to even playing football with the president of FIFA. Just give us
Ah,
a kind of guide. I mean,
uh,
just give us a guide really how you started from being in UE straight up to exactly where you got.
well, I could start from even further than that. I mean, as I said earlier, every young kid in Trinidad wants to be the next Dwight York. Every boy wants to train to see themselves playing in the Champions League or whatever. And that didn't quite work out too well for me, obviously. At the age of, I wouldn't say 21, but even during secondary school, when I wrote CX and I was getting into Cape and stuff, the idea of getting an open scholarship to actually go abroad to study anywhere in the world, it kind of, it it appealed to me. So obviously, I know I wanted to go to England to study. That time, obviously, I want to go England and play football. But for me, that was the start. That was actually the start of something I didn't see happening. And people say, the saying goes, "What people just plan and God does laugh." So
Yeah.
this was all in my plans, And me personally, I'm a very spiritual person. I tend to put God as at the center of everything that I do, ask for His guidance, and in every anything that I do. So I was always praying and asking God for to be a professional footballer and get into football and all these different things. And then on the other side, my mom was always telling me things like, it would be somebody big on the field in football, it will be somebody big off the field in football. I didn't know what she meant by that. I didn't really take it on. I knew in my heart I was going to be playing for Manchester United or whatever. So yeah, So I ended up doing the Cape, and I got a scholarship. Unfortunately or fortunately, it was an additional scholarship. So I said I'd just go UE and use the scholarship there to be from Cape. And there I studied economics as my first degree, and then I did a double major in economics and sports management. The economics was really to satisfy my parents. Growing up at that age, your parents always want you to get into the mainstream of things, doing things that nobody heard of, want to be a doctor, lawyer, working in the bank, and all these different things. And my dad actually was, pushing the economics part so that I could be working in central bank, but I know in my heart I wanted to do sports management because I like sports, and it's something, I think, I could develop something for that. I would say in my first month, possibly in my first month of in first year, I was already looking at what I could do down the road. I was already looking at what I'm going to do when I'm finished this. And I started to research, masters in sports management and all these different things. And seeing that sports management for me was a new field in the whole academic field of things. I wanted to do the best sports management masters there is, all right? That would obviously set me apart from the rest and actually bump me up when it is people looking for graduates in sports management. One advice I tend to give persons that doing sports management now at UE is, again, because it's still fairly new to the whole academics and things like that, always try to do something else with it. Just don't do sports management as a standalone. Do something to always fall back on, or not necessarily fall back, but tie into sports management. Because when you look at the whole sports management field, the careers that you could do in sports management, it's similar. It's 100% similar to what you can do in regular business, right? So whether it be sports finance, whether it be sports communication, whether it's be just management on sports management on the whole, marketing, legal, sports law, all these different things. So anything you could think of as a regular business would do, a sports business would do, with obviously inclined on sport, right? So through my research, I saw this FIFA Masters. It was ranked number 1 in the world. And it's been in the top 3 in the world ever since, and ranking number 1 in Europe ever since. So from there, I set my eyes, I want to do this FIFA Master thing as soon as I graduate from UE. And it so happened that UE actually signed an agreement with the university, or the sports institute in Switzerland, that actually is the who does the FIFA Master, and this was the CIES. And the CIES has a postgraduate diploma that you can do that actually gives you a scholarship, a full paid tuition scholarship to go on to do the FIFA Master. All right. So from there, my eyes were set that hey, definitely going to do this FIFA Master, and everything was get towards this. So went through UE every day just thinking, hey, I want to graduate now, just get over with this thing, because I was so excited to get into this FIFA Master thing, and just being anything associated with FIFA has this credibility behind it, So that was what my eyes were set on from my first year in UE. So went through university, graduated with the economics and sports management, and I signed up right away to do this CIES postgraduate diploma at UE. I had zero experience in sports in terms of working job wise, zero. Right. I didn't know how to start a football match, plan a football match, and nothing like that. So I went and did an interview. You have to do an interview to get into the CIES postgrad diploma. And I told them straight off the bat, hey, I'm doing this because as a stepping stone to get into the FIFA Master. right? And they were like, okay, cool. And so what experience do you have in sport? I was like, oh, I really don't have anything. I never worked in any sports organization, never did any sports event or anything like that. So I was uh, fairly new, right? And a lot of people don't know that. They think, I probably had all this experience in sport. I had no experience at all in sport. And they told me at the time was the first year that they were actually doing CPL in Trinidad and Tobago. And they say, why don't you just go and volunteer and do things like that? And to me, that was actually the first time I actually thought about or heard someone talk about volunteering in a sporting event, right? It was not something that I heard before. And mind you, when I was at that age, I didn't have any role model or anybody to look up or anybody to guide me into a certain career in the sports management. I was just doing all these different things based on my own research.
But come
No,
on, sorry to cut you.
no, that's fine.
And you know, speak about volunteering, and that it was new to you, right? But in the sports management degree, because I did sports management as well,
Mhm.
volunteering is part of the degree. You do have a
Right.
volunteering in third year.
The internship in sport.
No, not internship. It is under what course now under what I can't even remember what course it's on, but volunteering is part of one of the courses that I have to do in the degree.
Okay.
So I
Right. So
kind of wondering
yeah,
how it's new to you.
we never had that course in our in when I
So,
did it.
okay.
Yeah, we never had it. The only thing we had was an internship in sport, and
Yeah.
my best friend is J.U. Gordon, the hurdler,
Yeah.
and me and him went on to do the entries, and we did some in a couple hours there. We was just answering some phones and preparing they had a meet or something, so we were preparing for that. So I was fresh, zero
Okay.
experience, if you want to call whatever thing I did at the entry experience, and fine. But he told me, yeah, just go on and volunteer. And I was like, okay, this was something new again. And I was talking about, I didn't have anybody to look up to or to guide me as to a particular direction. Now there's persons like myself who people, want to know more about how I get into the sports as I'm doing here, and telling them my story and the different things that they can do, So yeah, I didn't know, to be 100% honest, I didn't know that the sports industry had all of these different facets.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Like, I was just, for me, it was just for my love of the game, football, my passion for football, and just wanted to possibly work in FIFA. Again, I was watching a Champions League game, like any regular supporter or fan or whatever, just seeing 11, 22 guys around actually picking up football, but everything happening behind the scenes and all the planning, I didn't know anything. I didn't know about all these different things that are happening in the sport industry, which is, an entire conversation we could have separate.
So
So
you didn't do event management?
yeah, all of these things, but again, the level of what I did it at
Okay.
university
A
to
big
what
difference.
I know
Yeah.
is to be, you know,
Yeah.
like even management, I could do plan a family day, plan a little small goal tournament or something like that. But when you get to the higher levels and you see what the lengths and the how far they go with this thing is chalk and cheese, But with all due respect, the degree definitely gives you that foundation to to move on to the next level. So yeah, so I went and did volunteer. I did a year. Sorry, not a year. I did the CPL volunteer that year. I was working in sponsorship. Volunteering in sponsorship. Again, nothing to say. Yeah, I really, I got a good feel of what sponsorship is now. It was just being in the environment, understanding all the work behind the scenes and things. It started to open my eyes. Um, and then, as I said, how we plan and God laugh, because I got that degree, that scholarship, to that additional scholarship, it more or less entitled me to a job after I graduated with the government. So it had an opening at the sport company of Trinidad and Tobago at that time, and they end up through the scholarship that I got, I ended up getting a job with the sports company of Trinidad and Tobago. My boss at the time, I don't know if you guys know a guy named Kyron Surratt, who's right. So he actually hired me, and he could tell you about the million questions I would have asked him in my first couple months at sports company, because again, everything was fairly new, and seeing how things operate from the government side. And everybody likes to blame the government not doing this and not doing that. That was once me until I got into the system and saw how things are actually operated there. So so I end up doing the sports management diploma with CIES while working at the sports company at that time. That took a year, and then I applied for the FIFA Masters degree. Again, by the grace of God, definitely I have to say I'm blessed, because when you look at the caliber of students that they accept for the FIFA Master degree, is students with tons of experience in sport, is students that speak 3 and 4 different languages, and you really see the competition there is out there. And again, I was just working in a sports company as a business analyst. It so happened again, I have to say thanks to God that in my last couple months, Brent Sancho came in as the sports minister there, and he pulled me and Kyron aside and said, "Hey, I want you guys to develop a women's professional league for me, do a feasibility study on that." And that was where I got the experience I needed to, actually talk about working in the sport industry, because we did that women's Premier League from scratch. We had girls flying from all over the world, girls from Man City, girls from Brazil, girls from the US D1 colleges coming to participate in this first ever Caribbean Women's Professional League, and running everything from the events planning to registering the business, doing up the bylaws and the all the legal stuff for the business. All these different things was things I didn't know,
That is
but things that I end up.
That was Wolf?
No, not Wolf, not Wolf. It was a women's Premier League that we did lasted 3 months in 2015. And we had the top woman in the Caribbean actually playing in this league. So it was one of the best experiences that I had. It definitely again opened my eyes to see things from a different level, and again with no experience, planning something from scratch, trying to get the concept out to actually executing was one of the best experiences ever. And right after that, again doing the interview for the FIFA Masters, it's about three different stages that you have to pass to go through to actually finally being accepted, whether it's country or CV. Then they tell you make it to the next stage, and then you have to do an interview, and from there. So I went through all of that again with no experience, just again my passion for the game. And I would have met a couple of the guys who were actually on the interview panel when they came to Trinidad for the CIES program, and I told them, I really want to do this FIFA Masters, speaking only English and all these different things. Everything was stacked up against me, and somehow it's the interview that I did for that FIFA Master was far from an interview, because I had my entire table was full of paper from all over. I wrote all my points, everything that I answer when they asked me the certain questions. And one of the first questions that came out the interviewer's mouth was, so you can play cricket, like you like cricket? I was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so you would be the guy to show the class and stuff in September how to play cricket and things. It's like, okay, sure, no problem. And they was asking who's your favorite cricketer, and if West Indies win the World Cup. That was the year West Indies actually won the T20 World Cup and things like that. And I was like, cool. Yeah, and that was the interview for me, like no lie. They asked me no questions about, what are my motivations and why I want to do this. Nothing like that. So I was hella confused as to, okay, what's happening? Like, am I gonna get accepted? Do they not think of me? I don't know. And 2 or 3 weeks later, I got the email I was accepted, and then I got another email that I was also they also want to award me the full scholarship, tuition paid, and everything. And I was like, wow, like it just came out of the blue just like that. So again, that was God working His magic for me, and so I had to get personal expenses covered for this FIFA master, and that was an entire year living abroad in England, Italy, and Switzerland 24/7, just, there's no break. And it would have cost me over 200,000 TT to actually live comfortably in this, while studying, because you have to pay for your flights, your accommodation, personal effects, all these different things. And again, God in the background working His magic as to this is why Prince Sancho asked me to do the Women's Premier League. So as soon as I was finished with that, I asked him about the possibility of getting a scholarship from the government, to actually go out and do these things. And it was, hell yeah, like this is one of the top masters in the world. And through him, the government covered all my personal expenses for the masters. So everything was basically taken care of for me. And yeah, it was everything just worked. So that's why, one of my things is never, when things just don't work out for you, you just don't worry about it, because God has a bigger plan. Because look how way back when I wanted an open scholarship, and He gave me additional scholarship. No idea why, but it opened the door for me to get the job. So it opened the door for me to end up with this league with the minister Brent Sancho, and then or everything just filtered into this one thing. I was like, boom, this is why everything happened this way. So yeah, so went on to do this FIFA Masters, still is probably the best experience I had in terms of sports in my entire life. I mean, visiting all the grounds that as a young boy you would dream of: Manchester United, Juventus, Man City, all these things, getting first class VIP treatment at these grounds. I mean, one of the highlights to me was playing against the Man City staff, sleeping in the first team hotel where Aguero and these guys would be sleeping. It was something that words can't explain the experience I had there. Everything was first class, top class, and it was one of the best, still is the best experience to me to this date. I would want to go into the FIFA Masters again if I had the chance to. And it was actually my first time out of the country for such a long time. So it was like, wow.
Did you go to Anfield?
No, I actually had I passed it, because if you know where Goodison Park is, right, it's right next to each other. So at that time I got complimentary. During the Women's Premier League, we actually had Everton coaches come down to do our Everton in the community thing in Trinidad, and I had connects through them. And when I went back up to England, I linked back with them, and they gave me complimentary tickets to see Everton play Chelsea. And that was when Everton beat Chelsea 3-0, and Naismith scored a hat-trick. I'm not sure if you guys could remember that.
Yeah.
In good.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
Just can't remember.
So Naismith scored a hat-trick, and it was that was my first Premier League game. Went in the Everton shop. I actually bought a Barkley t-shirt, because again with the staff access and stuff, I got everything cheaper. And yeah, so that was my first ever Premier League game. So definitely one to remember. And then my family who lives in England, my cousin-in-law, her dad is actually an honorary president of Huddersfield. So I were able to get a tour of the whole Huddersfield grounds and know all the history and things like that. So yeah, that experience was nice. Again, linking up from the girls at Man City, they have season passes to United. So after touring the field as a FIFA master and going through all the VIP, they actually gave me one of their season passes to actually go and see United City derby. Unfortunately, that ended 0-0. Sad to say, but again, great experience.
Oh, that is that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that it was at Old Trafford. Again, great experience again.
I'm still
So
honestly getting past the being so close to Anfield and not going in. I mean, I'd have
huh?
run off that bus and run straight
Well, I'm not.
inside, but
Nobody wanna go
I'm
there.
not
Well.
really I'm not really the Liverpool guy, but
Nobody
I
wanna go there.
definitely it's
heaven
one of
on
the
earth,
must. No,
heaven on
definitely is
earth, if
one of
that's so close to heaven on earth, I went to
um
the Super.
the most. I have to go there when I do God's willing get back to England. I'll definitely make a trip to Anfield, because I mean, just hearing how this thing and the whole atmosphere and stuff like that is something you definitely don't want to not live as a football fan. Um, so yeah, Italy, Switzerland, you tour all these big stadia, you went to all these headquarters and things like that. And obviously for me, going through all this, my next step, obviously, seeing how God was working things out for me, I started again planning like a fool. Right, I'm going to work FIFA next and get into this internship in FIFA and all these different things. And this is God laughing again, like, that's what you think.
Yeah.
So
But
stayed a
it's
couple
interesting
extra.
now that you brought that up because I actually wanted to ask you about your time in the Super League, working in
Right.
the Super League.
Yeah, so that's next, because after I graduated, I stayed a couple months trying to see if I could get a job in Europe and things like that, but nothing was working out. And having this FIFA master degree, I thought, people should be knocking at my door, wanting me to come and work for them. I send close to, and I wouldn't even exaggerate, between 75 to 100 CVs, just sending CVs to all different companies, and that one would get a call back for whatever reason, mostly because I didn't have the European passport to work in Europe, and that's such a huge thing. Um, that year as well was the whole meltdown at FIFA, with the whole corruption and things. So FIFA was going through a huge restructuring process. So the usual internships that they would give, afterwards, that whole process was very that whole process was abnormal. Normally as you graduate, they would choose some students or whatever to do an internship at FIFA. That didn't happen and flow as it usually does do, because of the whole FIFA meltdown and the restructuring and all this corruption things. So all of that again were factors why I can nail a job at FIFA, UEFA and things like that. My classmates now, um, and we always used to say between our class, we'll all end up where we want to be and where we should be in the end. And so said, so done. As where I am now, I have connects all my classmates, working either in IOC, working lawyers in IOC, who's working in UEFA, who's working in FIFA, and all these different things, which is pretty good. So yeah, so after came back home, couldn't take it no more, and I was like, what next? What next? Like I didn't know what to do next, and because people were reading regularly about me and things like that. A guy named Norris Ferguson, he had reached out to me because he wanted more information on the CIES thing, and I was giving him info and stuff like that. And he happened to be friends with the then Super League president, Keith LeCloy, and Keith LeCloy was actually looking for a young, vibrant person to come and be general secretary of the Super League. So I was actually recommended to the president to come and be the general secretary. I was like, sure, no problem. That was the only offer on the table. So that's how I ended up in the Super League. And I brought in two of my colleagues to work with me there. And it was arguably to this day the best run Super League season in the history. And I'm not just saying that because I did it. It was the whole revamp of the Super League, and we were booming on social media, and everybody was so into it, and it was fantastic. Again, new to me, but once you're a football fan and you have that basic knowledge and of doing finances and management and organizing everything, it worked out well. So yeah, so I did a year at the Super League level, and then again I still thought that, I could still nail a job back out in Europe. Went back out there, still looking for a job. I had a work fair. Um, Went to this job fair. Still try this sports related job fair. Still trying to nail this job. Actually, again, because of my connects at UEFA, they actually invited me to the Europa League final that was happening in where was this? In Marseille. Yeah, I think early on Marseille was playing Atletico Madrid. I think Atletico won that.
2017.
Yes.
2017.
No, 2018.
18. Yeah.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to go there and experience, a hell of a match.
Okay, Camara, in terms of I know you just mentioned in terms of your involvement in the Super League. So just give us a little insight into what you think was the necessary changes needed to get the Super League successful. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, some of the teams like Guaya and all of these teams, or even teams on the East Coast that had the Super League pumping, I dare say even more than the Pro League at different points. So what do you think you and your team did that made the Super League so successful and so widely supported?
Well, we definitely use the free social media tool, right? One of the things that we aimed was to really, raise the awareness that who the Super League is, what the league is, who the teams are, and try to get as much people behind the whole Super League movement. So we really focus on a lot of fan engagement initiatives. One of the things that and also actually streaming the games, live stream the games. I think we did the live streaming, I think in the second or third round, again, through my connects with FIFA, through the FIFA Masters. One of the graduates from a long time ago, he actually had a company called My Cujo that used telephones to actually live stream games, right? And they were the technology was so innovative and so simple to use, and it's so inexpensive. It definitely fit what we were trying to do and who we were. We went to B Mobile to actually see if they could sponsor the phones and the data and everything for this, and they definitely jumped on board and say, yeah, definitely, let's do it. And so the games were televised, were live streamed on the internet. And one of the other things that we did was we did a team of the week. So, or team of the wrong. So that definitely had the players edgy and antsy about why it is not any team of the wrong. And as you know, any publicity, bad publicity is good publicity, so people were asking, robbery, saying things like robbery, and they should be in the team of the week, and then score 2 goals and things like this. And we actually had the coaches as well fighting to find out why the player not on the team of the week. And all of that was lovely to see. The rivalry back in the football, and people, and as you mentioned, Guaya, they were hella one of our that fan base was one of our most engaging fan base. They definitely wanted to see their people and know their people on the social media. Did like top 5 goals, and all these different things were not really seen in the football landscape for quite some time. And people were back then people would say no, they know when a Super League fixture is and where it's going to play and all. That's something we wanted to change, and we had our fixtures set. We had any information that you wanted. We had a website with current information, all these different things. We had Umbro coming on in the early to sponsor like the balls and uniforms and things like that. So all these things came together and created, again, what I would say was arguably the best Super League season ever.
Okay.
And to top it off, we had awards at the end. Yeah.
Okay. And how long was your tenure with the Super League?
That lasted 1 season. I definitely wanted to finish the season, and again go back out to Europe to try again to see if I could nail something out there.
Okay, okay. So just talk to us now from your transition from the Super League to the TTFA and how that came
Yeah.
about.
So that was one of the being the general secretary of the Super League. It went when I was first announced. It wasn't. It was something that my friends on Facebook and supporters definitely they milked that, like they shared it all over social media. It was
Mm.
something that I didn't expect. It was something that the Super League, the hierarchy in the Super League didn't expect either, because when they announced me as the general secretary, it went like over 50,000 reach, over 100 and something shares and things like that. And it was something I didn't expect. But again, coming out from the FIFA Master, a lot of people started to know about me and actually followed my journey in the whole sports industry, and they still do. So definitely thankful for my supporters in that space. And and yeah, so people started to follow the Super League, and again, not me saying it was the best, but we realized it was well run. The administration was good, everything was up to mark. The TTFA president at the time, John Williams, he was actually keeping check as to what was happening. He actually gave us an office in the Attobolan Stadium to call our home and things like that. And we developed a relationship and things like that. So I went back out to Europe, and in my search for finding a job, came up blank again. But I was still trying, and he messaged me. He wanted me to come back home so that he could uh, start his club licensing system in Trinidad and Tobago, and actually would want me to be the manager of the club licensing system. I was like, okay, cool, no problem. I told him, give me a couple of weeks, let me see if I could try again. Did Nothing came up about it. So I came back home, met with him, and that being the club manager was something that I was looking forward to. Club licensing manager, sorry. So I was doing all my research on club licensing and how it would affect and how we could get a national club licensing structure. And all of that throughout went out the window because he actually had me as his somewhat personal assistant in terms of ensuring that the whatever was happening at the TTFA, they had a general secretary, but there were things that he wanted to get done that I would help in terms of doing presentations for him, putting together again documents for him to share with the membership, and the entire bacchanal that was happening with the TTFA with John Williams and Peter Floyd and all of those things. So I was doing a lot of research and trying to help him in that aspect, and yeah, and the relationship between him and the then general secretary started to deteriorate, and he ended up parting with the general secretary, and the offer was given to me if I wanted to be general secretary, and hell yeah, why not? A lot of people, obviously, I get this now. I don't get it as much, but I was 28 at the time. Yeah, 27 or 28 at the time. And a lot of people was like, hey, he's too young. He's inexperienced. He's this and he's that. And I get it all the time. And, for me, it was definitely, again, I would like to tell you guys my plan, obviously, when I hit 40 or 45 or something, I would say I'll be a general secretary of the TTFA and possibly lecturing at the side and probably having my own business by the time I'm 40 or something like that. At age 28, I was general secretary of TTFA and lecturing at University of the West Indies already. So this was my plans for later on, but everything just came up, and everyone, to being the youngest in the room, even in my lectures as well, was something I got accustomed to. But again, people were happy to hear about my knowledge, my experiences. Sorry, I was able to still lecturing, part in my knowledge, and we were happy with that. So became general secretary of TTFA.
I noticed you mentioned that a lot of people say, you were too young, that you had a number of people supporting your fan base. That's true. Well, at least us who know you on a personal level, we're happy to see a rise through football from, as I said, from FIFA Masters to the Super League to the TTFA. But there was a lot of people who were not so happy, a lot of people who say you were power hungry, you rushed into the role, you're in bed with somebody like John Williams who doing all kind of thing. There was a general secretary at the time, and you clearly operating as his personal general secretary, which is against the laws of the TTFA. How do you respond to all this criticism? Yes, I know at the same time, yeah, everyone that is somebody has to have a level of thick-skinnedness, but
Definitely.
does this kind of commentary, this kind of feedback affect in any way? A number of people saying, where Camara come from being successful under Raymond Timke. Basically, him and John Williams buried local football to the point where we are at 100 and something. How do you feel about hearing those kind of comments and in name and thing being
Yeah,
linked to that?
well, for me, once you stay true to yourself and know who you are, and know who and what you represent, all those things wouldn't affect you. From the start, obviously, it did, to the point where I actually got death threats before I became general secretary. People saw my relationship with John Williams and actually got a death threat from my Facebook saying to stay away from John Williams or stay away from that entire thing. We know who you are and we'll see you around for carnival and these kind of things. And
Wow.
that definitely it hit me rock bottom. Like I actually went to bed in tears, just knowing that this is what I dedicated my entire life to, my entire success and my journey was, to be in this position, all the hard work that I did from secondary days going straight up into university. So reach to this position and people would say things like this or try to disturb me. But I had my family there to support me all the way. They actually, they treacherous to my family as well. Tell your brother don't do this, or we know who your son is and these things. And it was just at a point where spoke up. It's just like it just hit me like, hey, God wouldn't put me through this far or carry me through all these different things to just come and quit. No, these are things people, whatever. So I just took it, thick skin, as you said. Definitely had to learn that the hard way, because every day you would wake up and wonder when your name going to appear in the papers again. And people again saying power hungry and all these different things. But I wouldn't be where I am today if I wasn't suitable for the job or appropriate to the job. At the CFU level, listen, if you guys follow the timeline, it's not more than 2 or 3 years experience I had before I came in here, but is of what I could deliver and things that I could do. And again, the professionalism and the network that I grew, people understood where my passion was, people understood how intelligent I was to actually get things done. So again, if I wasn't, if you want to take away what they're saying from Trinidad, we reach at the CONCACAF and the Caribbean and CONCACAF level, what would you say then? So definitely you wouldn't hear whoever could saying these things, because I heard it as well, and I was like, power hungry and ambitious. How can you be too ambitious? Like in this, especially in sports, you got to take opportunities. Before people knew that, again, the relationship between the president and the general secretary at the time, I had no input in that. That was between the president and the general secretary. And it's the president's prerogative if he wants a new general secretary or not. That's between both of them. So I can't be blamed for what the general secretary did or didn't do. If the president wanted someone new or someone in a different person as the general secretary, then that's his call. So people knew I was gonna be getting the offer, and And a lot of people said, do not take that. Football is going down to the ground. Do not take that. But I understood what John Williams' vision was. You understand? A lot of people do understand what his vision was. How he executed it, that's a story for another day. We all know the problems he had with communicating. He could tell you that. I could tell you that freely, and especially in the football, especially in the football. I don't know why, especially in local football, it's all about this ego thing. And obviously, me, young, I don't want any parts in that. I'm a professional sports business professional. I don't want any part in the politics or whatever. I was hired to do a job. Wanted to do a particular job. That is all I'm concerned about. So I was definitely not getting mixed up and tied up in the politics. But I can tell you that sitting down in TTFA board meetings was something that I detest, because these people, if you had a chance to sit down in TTFA board meetings and listen to the conversations they would be having, you would understand why the TTFA was sunk to the ground. And you cannot blame John Williams alone as president. It's an entire board doing things, right? And when you listen to what these people were debating, and before the meeting even started, it was a whole sort of personal things people had to get out of the way, and it was an environment. I definitely got into an environment where they would set you up the field, and it's all the elements of the board and whoever makes up the board is an environment where you were set up to fail, So
I hear that. I hear the set up the field, and I believe that's part of just unfortunately, I believe it's part of Trinidad culture because you always have our favorite for the position. So my favorite for the position is David Scarlett. Camara take the position. That's the wrong David for me. I am setting up Camara to fail from David. I want to come into position because I stand to gain from David Scarlett being in the position. So it's always about me standing to gain by having my person in the
and
position.
it's much deeper
But
than that.
a lot of
It's a
criticism.
lot deeper.
Yeah, and a lot of criticism we would hear on the streets, on the different forums, the newspapers would be that John Williams doesn't communicate, he does what he wants, he has Camara doing all kind of thing, he has his own board, he bypassing the board, the contracts with the
Home football.
of football, all these kind of things. That's just out in the open. It wasn't being addressed by the president. We wasn't seeing anything from you. So, I mean, just having all that level of misinformation there, how were you able to, sleep at night? Or are you able to see all of that information out there, seeing your name there and not being able to defend yourself based on different things? How did that affect you at any point? How did you feel about that?
It got to a point where, again, I wasn't losing any sleep over these things, mind you, because I know what we were doing. They dragged John Williams' name down to the ground. They drag it in the road, in the mud, in the puddle, and all the big pothole was a leave. They put the name and wash it in that. And up to this day, they had a whole segment, I think it was Magbasan investigative story on money's cipher in Panama and all this hardware, all kind of nonsense. You see anybody get locked up now? You see anything come out of that? Up to this day, not one police officer called John Williams to investigate.
Well,
up to this day, not one police officer.
And I looked at the Magbasan
Yeah.
highlight. It did seem very fishy. A number of the deals they had that John Williams was doing the entire home of football. It seemed very not above board.
So I woke up the next morning with calls from FIFA asking what is happening, what nonsense is that? Because for you to take 1 cent from FIFA in these times, you see a lot of the people from back then who, against the John Williams or whatever, and who was fighting him, they were from the FIFA. They know FIFA and stuff used to operate back then. They will call up the Godfather, they call up Big Boss and say, 100,000 for this, that, or the other, and they will get it. Now, if Germany gets 1 cent, Turks and Caicos Island has to get 1 cent. If England gets 1 cent, St. Vincent and Grenadines has to get the same cent. there are no perks to get extra monies like that from FIFA. Like it's those days are done and over with. So when I'm filling out application forms for the home of football and trying to get different equipment and stuff for the home of football, the amount of times I had to go over and fill out. It reached a point where invoices were 6 months past and outdated that I had to go and quotations were 6 months expired. And I had to go back and ask them for another quotation because you have to go through so much checks and balances to get 1 cent. So when I hear them say things about, they send $1 million in FIFA, in Panama, and even players, national players who, know me would come up and say, John Williams, Stephen, all the money here and there. And I am like, it's all so funny to me now that, and even back then, because I know how things operate inside of there, you have to be the biggest crook to steal $1 from FIFA. Like when last you heard about people stealing FIFA's money and getting away with it? They used to say John Williams was FIFA president boy and all of these different things. When last you have heard the actual story of somebody stealing the FIFA's monies and getting away with it?
His friendship with Infantino did bring a lot of questions to the board, though.
And that has absolutely nothing to do with Infantino. Cannot come and say, send a 1 mil to FIFA there. Those days are done. Send a 1 mil to TTFA. Get them an extra 200,000. No, those days are done. But what's funny, what's very funny is that while I was general secretary, everybody, let's say everybody were allocated at 500,000 to start off the year with all member associations. And when it is TTFA got 300,000, nobody would talk about that. They wouldn't talk about, we actually had to pay back a loan from since 2010 from some under 17 World Cup that the then administration took from FIFA. Now FIFA was taking back the monies. So all the boy, they like to say, John Williams was the boy for Infantino. Why it is that he would take out half of the monies that TTFA were entitled to from a loan from back then. That doesn't sound too much like that is a boy, right?
Fair enough.
You understand?
And I think part of the dislike or the disdain that the John Williams administration was held in is that we had a successful coach, we had a successful team ranked in the top, can't remember, let's say 50 World Cup, I think quarterfinals, I think back to back. Stephen Hart, World Cup qualifiers, you remove Stephen Hart to replace him with Dennis Lawrence, and that's where everything went to the wire. And even with the abysmal performances, I personally went to the Anguilla game in the Atobolian Stadium. That was just a put-on game to kind of just build the hopes of the country. But Dennis Lawrence under the John Williams administration crashed local football, and nobody was held accountable. That's the next reason. So other than the backroom issues, is the only issues people having a problem with.
Correct, and I would definitely. John Williams has his reasons why he fired Stephen Hart. I wasn't around at the time. I only came in the last year. So I met a lot of the things. So there's not too much I could have done to change things and hiring coaches and all this, because I think he had St. Field first. And he lasted about 3 games or something like that. Yes, so that entire
local tournament, that local tournament, correct.
Right. So a lot of the blame were being cast all over John Williams, Dennis Lawrence, the players. All blames was being put all over. We could only say that what would or should have happened if Stephen Hart did stay. I think they got rid of him after 2 or 3 back-to-back losses in the Hex or something like that.
In the Hex,
right. So I'm not the best technical expert or technical mind, so I tend to refrain from commenting on those things. But it's clear to see that that our ranking went back. Ranking did tremendously. But then it was interesting to hear that what the FIFA president once told me, and he said it on camera already, that there's only one World Cup and only one team could win the World Cup, you know. So what happens when Germany doesn't win the World Cup? All right, what happens when England does well? Since England doesn't win the World Cup, you know, do they say that, you know, that is the president to blame or whatever? Listen, I'm not defending anyone. I know that our performances on the field was terrible. You know, we could have done a lot better. So I'm honestly don't want to say it's because of this or it's because of that, but I could tell you that being from the inside and seeing all the things that happening in the background, I think that it actually took a while. If Stephen Hart was holding up the fort, he was holding up the fort. He's a very strong man because the way how things were inside that organization is a complete mess. Like things that was happening on the field and things that continue to happen, as you can see with the normalization committee, it doesn't surprise me. So, and as you would know in football, if things are not good in the administration of the field, then obviously it will mimic what happens on the field. So what was happening on the field wasn't surprising to me. We all know John Williams was solely heavily focused on this home of football. Um, in the last TTFA jam, they said it was a great idea. No one can dispute it was a great idea to actually have TTFA owning a home of football. How it was executed, how it was communicated. Well, again, we could all agree that it could have definitely been done better. Even the naysayers as well, they would say that you know the home of football is like it's a good idea. I mean, we actually have a home for football where players could stay. If you know the expenses of the TTFA, it's a heavy percentage on accommodations and getting fields rented and all these different things, and actually owning something for the TTFA was something that John Williams always wanted to see happen, that the TTFA actually owned something. We were supposed to own whatever excellence center back then, and we didn't own it. So to actually have made the TTFA owner asset was something that he really wanted to do. Again, definitely could have done a better job of doing it. He could have definitely done with a better team behind him. And again, the communication, how we communicated and executed the project, we could have done a hell of a better job on it. So what people were saying out there, trashing John the football, going down to the dogs and all these different things. For me, it was something that was inevitable, because the scenes in the back there, it was nasty, it was ugly, it was something that TTFA really needed. Normalization committee came a bit too late, in my opinion. Should have happened a long, because listen. When the whole FIFA meltdown happened was in 2015. The players at the core of this, they were also head of CONCACAF. They were also head of CFU. And they were also well intertwined in the TTFA. All right? FIFA got their act together, straightened out everything, still straightening things out. CONCACAF got their act together, still straightened out everything. CFU got their act together, started to straighten out things, still straighten out things. Who didn't get the act together? You understand?
To respond to that, your response to that, my response to your assertion there would be, even if we go to the streets of Trinidad, right? There's the local guy in the area. Everybody knows what he does. They know he might be in nefarious activities, but he does sponsor the local football. He does clean up the thing. He does help this one. He does help that one. So he'll become loved by the community. And I know the different players you're talking about. And people could say, well, at least when the local players, the people was doing whatever they was doing, local football was on a high. We had Dwight York, we had Stone John, we had Kevin Jones getting contracts outside. The national team was at the place. We
But at what cost?
had
At what
1989.
cost?
We had to look. we had the 2001 World Cup. We had the 2006 World Cup. No, well, we had the 2001 World Cup
We had
locally.
three,
We
I
had the
think.
2006.
Yeah, we had. I think we hosted about 2 or 3 World Cups, but at what cost?
Yeah, we also had the 2006 World Cup qualification. So a lot of people that say he didn't take my money, whatever money he take, and I see my
There we
national team do good.
and that's it, and that's where you sit. You see it like that. How much that the TTFA is in now?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Exactly.
yeah,
So what is
and that's
so
the
what is
counterpoint.
happening now? Exactly.
Yeah.
So what is happening now is not something that happened under John Williams in 4 years. It's not something that happened under Tim Kane in 4 or 8 years or however long he was there. It's
Yeah.
something from way back when. So don't be surprised. They had a high time 2006 being secondary school and we watch a game and everybody happy, ting. But behind the scenes, it was a complete mess that was turning out. The players, after they play the game, you started to see it where the players had to take the TTFA to court to get the money for qualifying for the World Cup. And that was just the start. So again, if just so you say it there, you said it there, just so you said it there, at what cost? So don't be surprised as to what's happening now. Don't be. When I think qualifies for the World Cup, I think if my memory serves me right, when I did research, I think they get at least 10 million US just for qualifying. This is outside endorsements and sponsorship and all these different things. FIFA gives you 10 million. Back then, well, you'll probably have to do research, but I think it was 10 million. You know what 10 million US could do the TTFA now? Or what that could have done if it was used correctly? So we was on the high. We enjoy with 2006. We draw with Sweden. We cuss Peter Crouch when he pulled Sancho dreads, all them different things. And after that, what do you guys expect? If you guys know what was happening, you expect how long we could have stayed up there for? So don't be
Bombshells.
surprised. Yeah, don't be
Bombshells.
surprised or ask why things not happening now or why we in so when we were on the high, how we think we get there? Where the money went, where the money gone.
Big
So
Dave, carry us to CFU.
Oh yeah, well, to switch from TTFA to CONCACAF now, and your involvement in CONCACAF, I saw the other day you was part of, was it a rebrand or a revamp of the Champions League?
so it's CFU. So CFU is actually a sub-confederation within the CONCACAF region.
Yeah, but what you was a part of the other day, that was Champions League.
So because yes, so they actually revamped the entire club football ecosystem in the CONCACAF region.
I do agree with that, by the way, but
okay, tell me.
Because I find it kind of it favors MLS and Mexico teams. And I believe
all right.
I believe the Caribbean only have what 2 or 3 spots in the Champions League.
We have 2 or 3. Okay, so we have 2 or 3 spots. While I hear you, I would ask you now. Tell me why you would want you're CONCACAF, right? Put yourself in CONCACAF shoes, and you have the Champions League happening, right? And obviously, you want the best clubs, you want the best teams, you want the most professional teams and clubs in your league, right? Given how football is now, right? Were you with a 50-50 split in terms, or let's say 33% split in the 3 regions, the Central America, Caribbean, and the MLS, well, and Canada as well, taking in mind the level of professional football in these regions. Go on.
Yes, with the major voting block in CONCACAF.
And they're talking about voting. I'm talking about the level of professional club football.
While I agree, yes. Well,
football with professional club football we're talking about here.
I believe
so.
That,
what
I
is the
believe
best?
That is,
what?
Good.
what is the best, or which league is the best Caribbean pro league right now?
Jamaica.
And the second,
I would have to say Trinidad.
so you're calling Trinidad, okay. So now you compare the TT Pro League,
No, I don't
which
know.
has,
Hear me out. Hear
which
me out.
have,
Hear me out. I was thinking like you have. I don't know if CONCACAF have coefficients like UEFA does, but let's just say the top three countries in CONCACAF ranked by coefficient. The winners of that league plays in the Champions League, in addition to the Caribbean Cup finalists. So that's five teams in Champions League. And
So,
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
all right. So if you see the revamp, right? The Caribbean has its cup, Central America has its cup, and I think
Right.
is the North American has its cup.
Right.
So from the Caribbean Cup, the winner of the Caribbean Cup goes straight into the round of 16 of the Champions League.
Yeah.
And second and third place goes to one round before. I think they call it the round of 22.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of how the new CONCACAF Champions League is, it's not like a group stage where, I think it was back then was actually one Caribbean team going to the group stage of the Champions League, and then they fight to the group stage and get into the, I think, round the 32 or round the 16 and then go on or whatever. Now we actually playing this group stage and this group round in your own Caribbean Cup, and the top three places now go directly to the Champions League knockouts. You're not okay with that?
Nah. I still think that the Caribbean needs more representation.
Because for me,
so let me say
and
the
I
winners
think
from
where I sit in the CFU,
uh-huh.
I think we need to do a better job in terms of bringing the other leagues in the Caribbean up to scratch.
I agree.
Because no disrespect to the smaller nations, but I mean, Anguilla, you think about having the champion of Anguilla now go on to represent, go on to the Champions League quarterfinals.
That is why I said the
What
top
wrong
three
with
teams,
that?
the top three teams ranked in
If
coefficient.
they're doing it. What wrong with that?
No,
Look, Sheriff
well,
Real
I'm
Madrid the other day.
saying that they have to and they can, but you're saying to give them more spots
No,
and more slots into it. So
why
look at
the more
Champions League.
spots?
Look at Champions League, right? England has 4. In some of the smaller leagues around in UEFA, they just have one, and it's not direct, but they have to go into they have to play qualifying rounds. Just their one champion goes on to play qualifying rounds. Now in the Caribbean, every single league champion where there's a professional league, mind you, there's not enough professional leagues, and we have 51 nations, and I think there's about, when we talk about professional leagues, it's just Trinidad, Jamaica, I think Suriname and a couple others are trying to get to professional, but we have a lot of amateur leagues. So as I was saying, like, I'm definitely for more spots for the Caribbean. Like, hell yeah, I wish we could get definitely 50-50 in terms of an even split with all the regions. But I have to be real and honest with myself and put myself in CONCACAF shoes and understand where we fit. You don't want to dilute the competition by just giving everybody equal spots. You want top tier competition, which is why England has 4 spots, and a team in the Latvia league probably mightn't even have a spot in the Champions League, but probably go on to the Europa League. So
but that is why I bring up the point about coefficient. So you have the top three countries in Trinidad, whether it's Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, whoever it is, Curacao, whoever it is, and they have the winner from those domestic leagues going into the Champions. And plus you have the Caribbean Cup, the 3 from Caribbean Cup. So that's 6. 6 not
okay,
hard.
but
6 not hard to put in.
Okay, but coefficient dealing with when you talk about coefficient, you can't just look at it like just the Caribbean region. UEFA doesn't look at their coefficient as just the Western Europe or whatever. They look at the entire European market. So when you talk about our leagues, you're not ranking it just in terms of the top in the Caribbean. You have to rank it in terms of the El Salvador League, the league in Honduras, the league in Canada, the league in the entire CONCACAF region. You know?
Fair.
Yeah.
I
So
get.
you can't look at things in just a silo and say, yeah,
Okay.
we should have the best because we should have our best three teams. No, because if there weren't if there was just one professional league in the Caribbean, let's say Jamaica, and they're the only running, I'm not even sure about the Haitian league or whatever, but if it is that just the Jamaica league was running and it have Trinidad who haven't had a league in a couple years, I mean our clubs weren't even didn't even pass the club licensing structure to get into regional competition. But you want to put them to run with USA and those big dogs. You understand? It's the issue, and it's the same thing. I was having a conversation with someone about, why it is something we were talking about, and why it is the top 5 in CONCACAF or wherever goes straight to the final round of qualification and all these different things. And again, it was something from an administrative standpoint that people wouldn't see, right? Look at what happened in the Gold Cup, where Cuba didn't even show up, and St. Vincent had 12 players where none were a keeper, so they had to make a makeshift keeper in the starting of the Gold Cup. Now imagine the US team or the Mexican team having to play St. Vincent, or St. Vincent having to go to the US to play in a World Cup qualifier where millions of dollars are spent on TV rights and all these different things, and the team don't show up. You know who had to pay for that?
I think that's different, man. That's different.
No, I'm
That's
saying
different, man.
That's
And I find
no,
how you run, you can't put Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica, the bigger powers in the Caribbean with St. Vincent and things. I mean,
I'm just saying in terms of the gap and the level. Okay, so if we say that difference, let's look at the top MLS teams then. You understand? And come into play against a Super League team. Think about that. And when I say Super League, now compare it to what it would be in the other islands. You understand? Where we do have where we probably get in trouble for transport, we don't show up on time. It's not just about the playing and the football on the pitch, it's the entire W Connection. W Connection's mantra was professionalism. Is not just is I think is more than an attitude, it's a lifestyle. You understand? So you're talking about these, and that is why even in the Champions, you could see you ain't gonna see Man U or Chelsea going down in the dregs to play with Albania
San Marino
champion or San Marino champion.
No, but that is why I said the champions of the top 3 clubs in the Caribbean, the top 3 countries in the Caribbean.
And again, you're looking at it. You're looking at it from a
with...
silo. You're looking at it from a silo because look, we by rights, if you spoke about voting power, we have 31 votes. So does that mean that we should have the majority?
No, but I mean, I fear enough size of the cake. We could go on it because you see that new Conga qualifying for World Cup structure and all. Mm-hmm. I find that is headache too. That is the worst.
Okay,
see,
why?
Because I honestly believe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I asking for a friend. I don't want to put my honesty out there. I have a friend that strongly believes all of this come to pass because America did not make the World Cup. So now you're seeing America, Mexico, Costa Rica, and the bigger hitters in the Caribbean directly into the hex. Where before they had to qualify.
Where's the octagon now? Okay, so let's go back to the old thing, right? The old stage where St. Vincent plays Mexico in the preliminary rounds. plays one game, loses, and the next time they could qualify for a World Cup or compete to qualify for World Cup is in the next 4 years.
Right.
You find that's okay for St. Vincent.
No,
Yes.
but still,
But
You
St.
see-
Vincent never used to play Mexico. Mexico never used to be solo down.
but even
cancel.
even if St.
the
Vincent,
prelim rounds used to be at the very first. The very first stage was, I think, where they have the Montserrat and teams like that.
yes,
And then
Right.
after
And they would
that,
play St. Vincent, and then
and
they
then-
go into the group stage of 4.
no, and then sometimes it used to be 3. Then after that, you would have the Mexico or whatever, and they would probably play 2 or 3 games. Not 2 or 3 games, 1 or 2 games. And you think that would be fair to teams like Montserrat and these lower teams to play 1 game and the whole World Cup qualifying campaign done and have to wait next 4 years? You okay with that?
At that point,
Is all you're now fighting for
honest.
Caribbean and this is what you're saying here? As opposed to this
it
structure.
started off as, from my knowledge, it started off as the small teams will play each other, and then you go into a group.
Once.
You will seed Mexico, you'll
Once.
seed USA, you'll seed Costa Rica. But Mexico never used to play in the preliminary. Mexico used to get
it's to
seeded
play
into
round two, yeah.
And
in
round
round
2
two,
against
nothing wrong
round 2 against who?
round 2 used to be Trinidad, sometimes in a group, Mexico in a group.
Trinidad used to get seeded too.
Yeah, true.
Nah, Trinidad not
Yeah.
all it
Yes.
I used to be seated.
Yes.
used to be a second seed.
No.
Scarlett, listen to me. You see, when he qualified for the World Cup in 2006, we was in the Mexico group and we finished second to the group behind Mexico. And I think it was for the Caribbean teams, Guyana and somebody
Right.
else.
And they go on to the Hex.
Yeah.
But
Right.
imagine,
I
right,
think that
so-
was fair at that point in time.
yeah, it pay for Trinidad, right? You okay with that?
Okay, no, okay. Fair enough,
But for Montserrat playing 1 game as a chance to qualify for the World Cup, you're okay with that? As opposed to now where they have 3 games.
yeah.
You
And fine,
using Montserrat as an example. But what about the USA and Mexico and all of them who just going straight to the Hex? The
It's not
octagon
a
or
Hex.
what?
It's not. It's
the
an octagon.
octagonal, it's the octagonal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, while so how UEFA does theirs, right? Obviously, UEFA has $1 million every day. UEFA making $1 million, so they could do that. But they seed their top teams. Their top teams are seeded. So England will never meet up France or Germany in a World Cup qualifying. They had to play San Marino and Kazakhstan and all of these teams. So how would you fight now for Kazakhstan and Albania and these teams having to play the mighty England and only one of these teams making it out of the group? I'm waiting for you to answer.
But they have to, you want to play in a World Cup, so you have to find a way, draw with England home and away and beat them other teams.
Okay, but England hitting these other teams 5 and 6, and you playing these other teams, and you can't be hitting them. That sometimes you losing against these teams.
It is true.
But Latvia did it though. Latvia went to Euros. I remember that.
I can remember, but I Euros. But we're looking at so again, it can never be fair to anybody.
No, I agree. I agree with the World Cup qualifying system,
And
especially
you guys
the
you guys looking at it purely from a footballing standpoint, which I 100% agree. Everything should be left on the field. But if I look into market something, I want to ensure that when my TV rights are to sell, is the heavy hitters in the end how to sell things. You understand?
So that is why USA and Mexico always together the final and goes up.
Hey, that's how that's I mean they seed one on that end and one on the end on the next end. But when I went to the World Cup final for the first time and I saw the atmosphere in that stadium, if I become general CONCACAF president in the next couple of years or whatever, I'm making sure USA on one end of the bracket and Mexico on the next end of the bracket.
You hear it, Scarlett? Somehow or the other, USA and Mexico would never meet in a
They
semi.
never meet.
You
I
always
mean, they
in the
can,
final.
they can, based on how if they don't top the group,
Yeah, well,
they definitely
but
could.
they will always top the group. Come on.
Well, and you see, so it's not totally, it all plays out on the field. So if Mexico doesn't top their group, they'll meet in a semi-final. So now you're upset because they was in the final. Well, then tell them to lose one of the games. if they're doing it, if they're playing the football and they're leaving there and they're leaving the talking to do on the field. You understand? Qatar could have come and blaze up USA and we'd have a whole next is Mexico US Qatar final.
That was for Mexico and
But-
US in the same group. That we what?
But why would you do that? It's the same concept as to why you wouldn't put England, France, Germany in the same qualifying group.
All of them in the same group. Knock all of them out.
You
Trinidad and
understand?
Tobago final.
Look, Canada wasn't in the top in the heavy hitters, and Canada had to fight the way. And now Canada bossing up in the group stages. Canada didn't complain. Canada had to find itself up there. Panama, big countries like Panama. You understand? Now we vex because Trinidad didn't make it, but I not CONCACAF fault, I not CFU fault.
I mean, I appreciate
The
having
road-
you on.
The road
Just to
was
kind of get a
clear.
marketing perspective,
Yeah.
because basically from a fan perspective, I just find this thing was
Yeah.
always rigged for Mexico to play US in the
Listen.
final. But to understand from your point of view helps me, and I think it'll help a lot of the listeners understand as to why the thing is done the way it's done.
Listen, the road to the octagon for Trinidad and Tobago could not have been easier.
True.
What?
True. Correct.
How you was gonna make that? How could it have ever been easier?
Correct.
You think
We
so,
dodged
Scarlett?
Panama, we dodged Curacao, we dodged who else we dodged? I forget. We dodged Canada, we dodged Haiti.
But we
The
had
road could not have been easier for
at
Trinidad and
Bahamas,
Tobago to
Puerto
go to
Rico, Guyana. We should have been
St. Kitts.
Please, Scarlett, I still recovering. Please don't bring the say that
And
that in.
out of the top teams who topped the group and all the groups, we had El Salvador. We didn't have Panama, we didn't have Haiti, we didn't have Curacao, we didn't have Canada. We had the weakest out of all of them, El Salvador. How much easier you wanted that, Jomo? How much easier you wanted that, boy? So again, they could never please anybody. Trinidad had the easiest entry to the octagon, and now play yourself now. Trinidad playing in the final round in the oct. Are we ramping with them teams, boss?
Bottom of the thing again.
How we ranking with them teams? How?
So we just wanted Trinidad to be in the that's what he wanted.
Me too.
What
Me
do you
too.
octagon? Anything can happen, you know?
I
Football is
wanted
on
that.
you.
I
I
100% agree with 100% agree with you. We could have definitely. I'm pretty sure we could have got some scouts in the octagon. No doubt about it. You know, but obviously we were not one of the highly favored teams. But the route to the octagon could not have been easier for Trinidad and Tobago. And all I'm not to say is that as much as we complain in the Caribbean because we want more spots, we want this, we want equality, I think it's more about equity. And
Well,
I
we
would
never
see
say
that.
equality,
And no, but well, all you say because we had the most, is Jomo saying they had the most votes, you know. The Caribbean have 31 votes, so by that I would take that he wanted 31 spots in the Champions League.
Nah. Me are saying that.
You understand? But
Yes.
again, from a marketing perspective, from an administrator's perspective, from the whole concept of football, you would want a proper product on the field. You understand? So
But,
you don't want.
I'm bringing it back to CONCACAF Champions. We have CONCACAF League as well, right? And
I'm not 100% sure what's happening with that.
okay.
Because of the new ecosystem, I think they spoke about everything in that. So I'm not sure if it actually have a CONCACAF league. But what I'm really excited about is actually a real CFU Cup.
Okay.
You understand? Where now the CFU could more or less be part and parcel of the administration and the whole concept of the CFU Cup and milking the lot out of having a Caribbean champion. And this Caribbean champion now going straight to the round of 16, where you just have to play a quarter. If you beat the round of 16, it's quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals, you know, stuff. You understand? Home and away. How much sweeter you would want, and as Jomo said, football is on a day. when W Connection was playing the Champions League in the earliest, it was one of the best times of football in Trinidad and Tobago. Because I would go to the stadium and watch W Connection ramp against the Cruisers who are Club America and these things.
Yeah.
Any Galaxy
And
came out kind of thing.
you understand? And we hold them at home, Jomo.
I
We
remember
ramping with these big dogs at home.
I remember
And it's just because
2009.
and it's just because we had 6 games to play in this group stage, where obviously you would have died out and things, momentum would have died. Now we just have a home and away to play, and then our next home and away to play.
And then
You understand? It couldn't be the probability couldn't be more in favor of us in the Caribbean.
so with
And then
the
I think Joe Public was in the Champions League too.
But I just
defense
distinctly
for-
remember Connection, and I think was the Brazilian, I forget his name, scoring a goal in Maniranjan.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I
bro.
know. I know it.
Yes, yeah, and scoring a goal in Maniranjan.
I
And
know what you're talking about.
listen, that was the best time, sir. But
No.
again, because it was a whole group stage and taking the top 2 and we have to fly here, then everywhere, eventually it would take a toll on the players. But now it's just a home and away, and boom, we're in the quarterfinals. Come on. How much sweeter you wanted, Jomo?
This Scarlett, one thing I tell you about this man here, you could see he has some marketing experience. Everything
Well,
we
yeah.
tell him, he's spinning it to tell me how much sweeter we wanted, how much easier we
No,
wanted.
it not was just spinning, but showing you, because I sat where you guys were from a fan's perspective, and seeing things from one end, from one perspective. But I know exactly what you guys talking about. But I also see and understand from CONCACAF and CFU on the administrative side. So again, I would love more Caribbean teams in it. But when I put on the other hat now, and I understand in terms of keeping the quality of the Champions League at a certain level, because now the Scotiabank Champions League, right? These big guns you're talking about here. You want the big guns and the big dogs competing. So obviously, is now up. Now the challenge is now for us here, the Caribbean and the CFU, to now rise to that level. So the next time we're talking about coefficients, it's like, hey, listen, in the last 3 seasons of the new Champions League, our top 3 places who went on to the Champions League knockout stages, we made it straight to the quarterfinals. So it's time now we talk and seeing how good the Caribbean leagues are, and now we could ramp for probably 4 or 5 spots. You understand? So we have work to do. We have a challenge now to get us to that level, up there to the professional level, because you know what is real professional football, and you know what we have in the Caribbean that we call professional football. I think Highland said it as well. And even the club owners, Brent Sancho, and these players, ex-players who play professional football, they know the leaps and bounds behind we are for real professional football. You understand? So we have a challenge to get to that level, and it's up to us. It's up to the different clubs, the leagues, to show us and to show CONCACAF why we should be getting more spots in Champions League.
Well,
I mean, go ahead.
well, the Nations League was created to give smaller countries more playing time.
Correct.
So with the revamped Champions League now, does it have like a second tier to give smaller clubs of smaller countries more playing time to compete?
Things with it, I think one of the things with the new revamp, again, not to go much in depth because a lot of the things is still being ironed out, but the Caribbean Cup would definitely be expanded.
Okay.
So now the Caribbean teams get to compete at their level now, in more frequently. So you'll have a bigger Caribbean Cup, and more emphasis would be on this Caribbean Cup. So again, as much as we're fighting for the Caribbean team, we need Montserrat and these things to step up their professional leagues. You understand? It is a stretch. We understand the resources. We understand the difficulties. It's not going to happen overnight. It's probably not going to happen in the next 3 to 4 years, right? But it's something that we could strive for is something that is now a real goal and objective, a clear pathway as to how, if David Scarlett decide he's gonna create David Scarlett FC tomorrow, he could now see himself as and see his club in the next 10 years or whatever becoming Caribbean champions and work his way to becoming Caribbean champions. But again, we need to professionalize our clubs and our leagues here in the Caribbean before we could start complaining about different things.
So we keep talking about Caribbean Cup the past 20 minutes or so. Well, what is the criteria to qualify for this?
Well, again, the kinks, the kinks and stuff hasn't been ironed out as yet. But obviously, from your league, you would obviously have the champions or first and second place go on to qualify for the Caribbean Cup. So now the pressure is now on federations, national federations and associations to actually get their leagues running, because that's the only way you would qualify to the Caribbean Cup is if your domestic leagues are up and running.
So you mentioned the first and second in every league. Does it have like a qualification
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah, I'm not concrete yet, but it's possible.
Okay.
Obviously, the first place, but I'm not sure how much places then. So how to qualify, I'm not 100% sure, but that's how it normally is.
Okay.
Well, Scarlett usually claimed the fame last time we had Marshall Cedeno on and say that when he and Marshall used to run. Scarlett, I had to put out there. I claimed the fame. My claim the fame is Mackenson and I played in the Engineering League and we won. Nobody scored on us.
It's
we were
true.
undefeated.
I actually forgot about that, but that is quite true.
I put just to prove it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember that.
So just to give us a kind of understanding in your role.
And I was good at football back then in Jomo.
Yeah, he was actually good. I mean, in terms of leading the line for Milner, in terms of being a center forward, I mean, he's a carry Milner. I mean, for the Milnerites are going to get, he used to carry Milner. He take Milner and carry them on his back. You see, broad shoulders. So like even with the CFU and your reach, I know you mentioned that you went to the Gold Cup final. What's your reach at the CFU? Because I mean, plenty of people they hear the CFU, they hear CONCACAF, they don't know the difference. I know CFU is the Caribbean Football Union, but like, what's your reach in terms of CFU? What can you do, and what's your powers in CONCACAF itself?
Well, definitely CONCACAF and CFU, two distinct organizations, but we are one family, one football family. The CFU is the Caribbean Football Organization, Union, sorry, I don't know why I go organization. Caribbean Football Union. We are the umbrella body for 31 member associations representing the Caribbean. So if you know the entire football hierarchy, there's FIFA Global, there's CONCACAF, who does Caribbean, North and Central, less comfortable doing in the South, CAF, Africa, Asia, Oceania, and UEFA in Europe. And then within each of the 6 confederations, there's sub-confederations, and that is where CFU comes in. And even within CFU, there are some countries or member associations that come together, although they're not highly structured, but they come together and do their own sub-regional tournaments or whatever, whether you call it the Windward Cup or Leeward Islands Cup or things like that. So I like to think of, so since the whole FIFA meltdown and stuff, CFU has done a tremendous job in getting back on track. CONCACAF did the same, FIFA did the same, but unfortunately, as I told you guys before, TTFA didn't clean up their books since, and even you're smiling, but even to go back to that, FIFA, CONCACAF, and CFU revamped their statutes and constitution. TTFA did not. So again, these things what's happening doesn't surprise me at all. It does not, So yeah, I like to think of CFU now, where FIFA does one stamp for everyone. All right. So there's no benefit for Germany being Germany or Montreal being Montreal. Everything is done on equal terms. All right. Um, then there's CONCACAF that comes to see now about the nations and the member associations within their regions to try and help out. Now they could more target Montserrat and Anguilla and these small islands, actually target them and see how they can help them. But there's so much CONCACAF can do as well. Again, they again equal. So if it is they give TTFA 150,000 from their one CONCACAF program, they have to do the same for Montreal. Whatever affordabilities that they afford to the US or Mexico, the same has to be afforded to us here in the Caribbean. And then there's where we come in, where we could now get more in depth as to what is happening in Bonaire, what is happening in Anguilla, and the small islands could to more provide projects and assistance that targets their specific needs, because the needs of Montreal are not the same needs of El Salvador or USA or Germany or England, So the CFU comes in there where we could more target those needs and help develop those countries to reach the next level, to get better, whether it's on the field or off the field. Right. We also have we have 31 countries, of whom all 31 are CONCACAF members, and CONCACAF has 41 in total. But of our 31 countries, 6 of them are not FIFA members. So 6 of them actually do not benefit from the niceties FIFA would give the other islands. So we're talking about Martinique, we're talking about Bonaire, Bonaire, French Guyana, and some other countries. So 6 of them don't benefit from FIFA monies at all. But they are CONCACAF members, and we step in there so we can help their development as well. So our goal really is very much developmental, and seeing how we can again develop football, because they're the lowest ends of the scale in the Caribbean, sadly. I think they did a report where it was ranking different associations, that the majority, if you look at even the FIFA rankings, you would see the lowest ranked teams, majority of them are from the Caribbean. So we have to see how best we could step up and fill that gap to get them to the next level.
Okay. Finally, probably for just the final point for the pod, in terms of just the atmosphere, if you could just describe the atmosphere. I mean, it'll be difficult too, but just the atmosphere in the Gold Cup final, the USA, the Mexico. I mean, that would have been, even on TV, I was feeling it. I looked at the Gold Cup game. I mean, the atmosphere looked amazing. I know it's a fierce rivalry between the two top dogs in CONCACAF. My personal favorite is Mexico. I just prefer Mexico. I think they're actually more naturally talented. So when Trinidad lose to Mexico, I actually don't feel bad, because I feel that next time I Mexican talent, you see, they are amazing. I mean, America is not really that much talented to me. I think they're just a well-oiled machine. But I mean, that's just my personal view. But how was the game? How was the atmosphere? And in your capacity as being in the CFU, was that a surreal moment for you, being probably in that such a big game in the Gold Cup?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the perks of the job. Definitely counting my blessings there. It was actually being in the capacity as an official, having to go through the whole VIP process and sitting with the big dogs. It was definitely, always having to check yourself, because you can't be doing what you would normally do if you're a fan or whatever, getting out there screaming and cheering on the team. You gotta put on the profession. You gotta be professional, But it was a great experience for me. Sorry.
Yeah, sip your wine and pull your leg on.
Because at any point, being right behind the FIFA president, at any point the camera could span on you, and definitely I want to be seen out of order,
Yes.
right? But it's something you it's really you get used to. it was my first big game, but in terms of the size of that stadium, the stadium is something that, because we had a gala event the night before the Gold Cup at the stadium, and we had a tour at the stadium and stuff, and just thinking about the possibilities of some of these venues being in the Caribbean is definitely a dream, right? Some of the presidents sat in that stadium and actually saw their population, the entire country's population, 3 and 4 times. You understand? So it's an experience that I would love any football fan to have. The Mexicans were hella. I mean, the unfortunate circumstances that happened recently with them and the homophobic chants and all these different things. It's sad, but they were very at least the Mexican fans that were next to me friendly, obvious. I don't know if because I had on the suit and tie, they were respectful and things like that. But they definitely they got into the game. I would love to see Trinidadians and even um Caribbean nationals around the region actually be passionate as how you would be a passionate to a Liverpool or you would be passionate to Chelsea. Actually get into the game, and by understanding the game, we in Trinidad, when we see a man beat somebody, like, woohoo, and we talk about that beats for days and weeks to come. But when we see Salah, probably Henderson or Thiago do a big pass, or we see Mount or somebody for a true ball, and we clap, and even ball go on for a corner, we clap and we cheer them on and things like that. That is the kind of passion I think that would do well for us there in the region. And again, it comes with the culture one, but our understanding of the game. So if we see Jovan Jones going down the line, or Levi beat somebody, but the guy come back and the ball go out for a corner, those are things that we could motivate and clap. Yeah, that was a good try, but we got corner out of it, which is good. Getting into the game like that is a dream I would have for us in the Caribbean.
Well, again, I feel the majority of people in Trinidad is not really fans, it's just more like hype followers. Because just even around the World Cup times, it was difficult to get a ticket to go and watch the national team, and then there would be certain periods where you could walk to the booth on the game day and buy tickets and the stadium empty. It's always hype.
It's true.
Sometimes
True.
you go to the Pro League game, sometimes it's $30 for a double header. When it was LA Galaxy, tickets was $150, and when you walk inside, the place crazy. Sometimes you go on an Express game and you see how intense your rivalry is, you see how fully fans is, and then you go to the same man I'm John for a Pro League double header, and it's you and family, friends, and friends like players. It's
Yeah,
hype.
there's a topic. There's a topic for next session.
Yeah, we could talk for hours about that, but it's all hype. But I just want to thank you for coming on. For even taking the time to come and have a conversation with us, even though with your current portfolio. I appreciate it. I appreciate your blessing us with your presence and your insight. I for one learned a lot in terms of the marketing side of it, because for me, I always had my fan point of view. It just making it more hard for Trinidad, but I guess from the product, and I understand as a point again as being a referee. So like players would say, well, ref, we complain about socks and me having on a black socks and the man having on a red socks and me having on a white socks. It's just a socks to play a game. But when you selling a brand and selling a product and people showing up to watch a game, and you as a referee doing a game and a man have on black socks, he have on red socks, he come and he put blue tape, he put green tape. The product is selling and you supposed to be in control. It has lent to lawlessness, and with lawlessness, there's injury, and then it's the bigger picture you have to look at. So that's one of
And
the
that's the nonsense that we put up with here. And the day of the announcement of the revamped Champions League was the day that this 60-year-old club owner stole the headlines.
Yeah.
You understand? And where was he playing? In a CONCACAF Champions League. No, that how you see you're laughing. No, you as the president of CONCACAF, Jomo, you seeing this happen. You have big sponsors sponsoring your Champions League, and this come and happen. It's a big joke.
I never think
People
about that.
Yeah, people now see your league as a big joke. You ever see that in UEFA?
True.
You ever see Abramovich pawn his boots and say and lace up his boots and say, yeah, ready to play?
True. And the team won, and then you see them handing out money after.
It's a big joke. So if I am CONCACAF, and sadly it's a Caribbean team again, Suriname. You understand? I would try to have my league. You had to put up barriers and fences to prevent these things from reaching the top ends. So this team was the best in Suriname, and Suriname is one of the top 5 or 4 best professional leagues in the region. Now you're talking about having spots directly to the Champions League for the champions of these leagues. Now imagine now this guy, 60 years old, goes on to play Vancouver Whitecaps in a round of 16 Champions League.
Would he play in a game like that too?
Well, why would he play this one?
Yeah, true.
It's a small.
You're gonna bring in the league into
It's not a small, exactly. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of work to do before we can start complaining and saying that we want XYZ to take place. Look, just as people were complaining about the sports for Champions League, that same day this nonsense come and happen. And when CONCACAF GS, we were having a chat on it, and I was saying, yeah, it's very embarrassing for the brand. You have, and we looking to call big sponsors for we leagues. We were Scotiabank's Champions League and all these different things. And we league is a big meme all over Twitter and Facebook. That's what you've been and sell to me. That's where you put my brand, brother, man. Nah, man.
You really bring a different perspective to it, boy.
It's a lot of different perspective.
You bring a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think about that. And he and his son played, eh? And he's 61.
It's ridiculous. So if I have the chance to cut all these stupidness that's happening, and I have to be very aware of these things that could happen, I didn't even know that this could possibly happen. But the mere fact that they've had barriers and they could put things in order to have the best of the best, where real professionalism exists, you understand? Then these things wouldn't be happening. So
Understood.
you understand now?
Yeah, I understand now. I mean, it's a whole new world, and I think it's something we might even have a follow-up pod on, me and Scarlett, try to get more administrative people to understand, like, on the other side, because, like, I mean, you will never see Abramovich do that. So why did the club owner feel that? And that again shows the level of respect for the competition that you feel you can get away with playing yourself and his son.
He would ever do that in UEFA Champions League.
No, he won't.
No, he would never do that. So why now?
He would never do that in a FIFA match window either.
Exactly. So why would you want to do it now at CONCACAF League? Because it's a big joke to you, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah. But thanks again, Kenson, for coming on, man. That's my closing words.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for coming on. As you say, going back to the Caribbean Cup and Champions League spots, I hope we see a Caribbean team playing in Club World Cup one of these years. You know?
Let's see. Let's see.
But yeah, man.
Definitely would be.
Thanks for coming on, man.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me. Anytime you guys want to have a chat, I'm open. Just let me know in advance and I can make myself available. But I enjoy talking about football, as you guys say, given a different perspective, because I was a fan once. I see things, and now I have to be very diplomatic in how I answer certain things. And understandably, I see things from also the administrative side as well. So thanks for having me, and keep doing the good work. And best of luck.
Yeah, thanks. We appreciate it.
No problem.
Hopefully, Trinidad in a World Cup or Nation League final, and then you have to be calm. You think you could be calm in Trinidad in the final?
Oh, well, no, why not? Well, sorry, why would I? And I would forget the shirt and I put on a TTFA jersey and a Blazers. I out there. Come on, it's at the end of the day, guys. At the end, we gotta remember it's football. We're doing it for the love and the passion of the sport. I once asked the CONCACAF president what would happen if you guys want to win the Gold Cup, because I was actually at the Gold Cup game for when we played French Guyana, and I was, cheering on, and then I watching everybody in the suite with the other CFU, and Caribbean man. I said, yeah, supporting Caribbean man for sure, for sure. Trinidad was playing French Guyana, and the CONCACAF president was like, boy, you do what you want. If Canada come and win the Gold Cup, yeah, I first one taking the trophy around the entire lap around the pitch. So yeah, that's what part is, Can't forget where you come from.
Yes.
All right. Thanks again, bro. Hope to do that again soon.
No problem. Take care, guys.
Premier League, Bundesliga, Liga, La Liga. Bias brothers, we gon' hit you with a football fever. Tune in right here. Them boys will make it smile or even try to. We be reppin' from the TMT, my bros and me, more fire than CNG3. So RFP to TV6 and all those flicks, they can't touch it. Like Leno when a shot gets hit, bang bang.